You probably have habits with your BMW you don't even think about. They feel completely normal. The car starts. It drives. It stops. Nothing seems wrong. But some of these habits are quietly wearing the car down. There's no warning light for it. No message on the dash. It just builds up in the background. Until something that should have lasted years starts acting up way too early. Mistake number 10, flooring it on a cold start. This one feels harmless. You pull out right away. Maybe you push the throttle a little harder than usual. But the oil hasn't fully circulated yet. It's thicker when it's cold. It moves slower. For those first seconds, some parts are running with less protection. On a turbocharged BMW, that matters even more. The turbo needs oil pressure to spin safely. You can actually hear this phase. The engine runs a bit louder right after startup. The idle takes a moment to settle. That's your cue. Give it 20 to 30 seconds. Then drive gently for the first couple of minutes. You're not wasting time. You're just letting the engine warm up before it has to work. Mistake number 9, fighting the stop and start system when you are in traffic. Your engine shuts off and restarts every few seconds. At every light, every slow crawl. Your engine stops when you least want it. You can adapt your driving style by always anticipating if you will come to a full stop or not. Or by letting the car roll slowly when you want the engine to keep running. In heavy stop-and-go driving, that's fine, but in light traffic, that can feel old fast. Over time, the restart feels a bit delayed. Most owners just tolerate it, or switch it off manually every time. But that is one more thing you always have to think about. Some owners install a small stop and start eliminator module instead. It disables stop and start for good at every startup. No more reaching for that button every time you start the car. Simply plug it behind the stop and start off button, and it removes the habit completely. Good news! A lot of BMW models are actually compatible. You can check the link in the video description to see if your car is on the list. Mistake number 8, topping off coolant instead of finding the leak. Here's one that's easy to brush off. The coolant level's a little low. You top it up, you move on with your day. But a BMW engine isn't supposed to consume coolant. If you're topping it up more than once, there's a leak somewhere. A hose, the water pump, sometimes the radiator itself. A small leak can turn into a real failure. On some engines, overheating means a lot more than a coolant top-up. The fix is simple. If you've topped it off twice recently, get it checked. Before your next long drive. Not after the temperature gauge does something you don't like. Mistake number 7, riding the brake in slow traffic. Watch your foot next time you're crawling in traffic. Is it resting lightly on the brake, instead of pressing only when you need to slow down? That's constant contact between the pads and the rotors. It's not enough to really slow the car, but it's enough to build up heat. And that heat adds up over thousands of miles. You'll notice brake dust building faster than normal, or the pedal feeling less sharp than before. The fix is simple. Take your foot fully off the brake when you're not slowing down. Let the car roll. Then apply clear, deliberate pressure when you actually need to stop. Your pads and rotors will last a lot longer for it. Mistake number 6, treating interior parts like they're indestructible. This one isn't about the engine at all. Think about the door handles, the electronic parking brake button, the iDrive volume knob, a faded look or sticky surface. You take that as normal for a used car. You don't know where to source these parts for cheap. We have good news for you. These parts are simple to find and replace, and they are inexpensive. We have partnered with Euro Premium Parts and included a link in the video description. You can find a wide catalog of interior parts and accessories for your BMW, helping you bring your car's interior right back to feeling tight and new. Mistake number 5, shutting the engine off right after a hard drive. You pull in after a spirited drive, or a long stretch on the highway. You park. You turn the engine off right away. But if that drive pushed the engine, temperatures are still high, especially around the turbo. While the engine's running, oil and coolant carry that heat away. The second you shut it off, that circulation stops. The heat has nowhere to go. That's heat soak. And it isn't kind to parts that rely on steady cooling right after hard use. So after a demanding drive, you should let the engine idle for 20 to 30 seconds. Then you can switch it off. Mistake number 4, trusting the long life service indicator blindly. This is the one almost nobody checks, and it can quietly cost the most. BMW's service indicator calculates your next oil change based on driving conditions, but it assumes a mix of driving, including regular longer trips at full temperature. Is your actual driving mostly short, cold start city trips? Stop and go? Never really warming up? That's considered severe driving. And severe driving needs more frequent oil changes, not what the countdown on your dash is telling you. Sludge and carbon buildup happen faster under this pattern, especially on turbocharged engines. Look at your last few trips honestly. Mostly short and urban? Change your oil on a mileage or time basis instead. Don't wait for the computer, and lean toward the shorter interval, not the longer one. Mistake number 3, ignoring a check engine or service light because the car feels fine. The light comes on, but the car still drives normally, so it gets ignored. This is one of the most expensive habits on this list. A check engine light almost always means something small right now. Something that gets bigger the longer it's left alone. Most people ignore it for one simple reason. They don't have a way to check it, without a trip to the dealer just to read a code. That's actually a 20-minute fix. A basic OBD2 scanner can tell you exactly what's wrong. It tells you exactly what triggered the light. The issue is, there are so many scanners on the market you don't know which one to choose. That's why we've also put a link in the description for the Launch OBD2 reader. As opposed to a lot of entry-level OBD scanner, it works as a standalone device. No need to pair it to your phone or to get a paid app. It works on its own. Simply plug it in the OBD port of your car, turn the ignition on, and run the scan. Mistake number 2, keeping your keyless key too close to the car at home. BMW's keyless entry is always listening for your key's signal. As long as the key is in range, the car and the key stay in communication. Convenient while you're using it. But if the key sits right by the door, or in a bowl in the hallway, that communication never really stops. That constant background chatter drains the key's battery faster than it should. It can leave certain car systems active longer than they need to be. You might notice the car unlocking on its own as you walk by, or the key battery dying sooner than expected. The fix is simple. Keep the key at a reasonable distance from the car at home. It lets everything fully power down, instead of staying half awake all night. Have you had your battery replaced recently? Here's a step that gets skipped constantly. Newer BMWs use an intelligent battery sensor. The IBS, It monitors the battery's condition and tells the charging system how to treat it. If the system isn't told a new battery went in, it keeps managing it like the old one. The old, worn-out one. That means it may undercharge a perfectly healthy battery, which shortens its life and can lead to odd electrical behavior down the line. After any battery replacement, the new battery needs to be registered. Most BMW specialists know to do this, but it's worth asking directly just to make sure it wasn't missed. So that's 10 habits that feel completely normal behind the wheel, but they quietly add up over time. Did you recognize yourself in 2 or 3 of these? Let me know in the comments.